my name is Kento. I'm majoring in economics and I'm interested in corporate finance, so that's why I've decided doing internship at Dome Financial Division. And what I'm doing there is, try to make the evaluation form for the Dome's investment. I'm helping them by research about other companies.
Hi, I'm Anna. I'm psych major in Temple University, and at Dome I was in the product management branch where we contact with other countries, like factories in other countries, and make sure we get the right product at the right time. And I hope to use my psych studies and experience to be able to bring that people connection skills.
Very nice. My name is Johnny and I'm an international business major. For Dome, I worked in their supply chain and marketing department, and I mainly worked with figuring out how to make the Under Armour brand more popular in Japan and how supplies got from one country to Japan or from Japan to another country.
I was in the product management branch of Dome, and in that branch, mainly they're in charge of when products come in and when products go out of Japan, but mainly it kind of seems like it's just one part of the flow, but it actually starts from the beginning of when the production starts all the way to claims and stuff. So within the branch, they have different teams, so each team is in charge of whether it's contacting factories or dealing with claims, or there's 5 teams within that branch, so they each have a different role, and so I got to experience all 5 of those roles.
I worked in the supply chain and marketing, and people would think they're not really that connected, but they actually work hand in hand. For marketing, I got to work with specifically trying to make the Under Armour brand more appealing, so for younger people, so through using social media or just figuring out how to make the clothes more appealing or the shoes more attractive. And for supply chain, we were working on how to connect that from age to age and from country to country to make it a whole just global image of Under Armour. It was pretty fun, but there's a lot of work involved in supply chain because you have to make the catalogs and you have to talk to certain companies. Also for marketing, there's characters included and models and whatnot you have to talk to. So there's a lot more than just from A to B. It's just a snake way.
Right. My internship, I'm doing in the financial division. Then what I'm doing is create evaluation form for each investment. For example, opening up new shop, try to open the gym or something, or every single investment. At the time I haven't taken the finance class, so I have to go over everything by myself, and I think everyone kind of think that finance is kind of Excel job kind of thing, but which is not, which is just part of it. I have to think that sometimes I have to go to see other companies and shops to know how do they marketing it, then make assumption that how much they cost in that investment, something like that.
For me specifically, I kind of went out of my way to make sure I knew what I was doing, so I asked a lot of questions. And because I asked questions, they gave me more assignments. It's not as a punishment, but because I knew what I was doing now, they gave me more responsibilities. So at first, I worked with just translating marketing presentations, and then it transitioned into helping set up the catalogs and inputting certain items into the page format and all that. So shoes and the entire 1,000-page catalog and other items. And then for marketing, it was creating presentations. So they would give you a question: how do you improve Under Armour in social media? And they would just leave it up to you completely. So my responsibility was just to create plans in how Under Armour's marketing can improve through social media. So it was a lot of work just left up to me specifically. So for example, I made a plan on for them to use Instagram as an expansion. So I showed step by step how to do it, and had a presentation, and I did it in front of their managers. They tore it apart. They're this is good, this is bad, we could do this, we can't do this. So it's a good learning experience, and next time they're okay, do it again but better. So it's practically a lot of my responsibility. It's just making presentations for them to expand and improve.
Did you have a lot of projects?
No, I have one main goal that I have to create or like suggest new evaluation form for the investment. What I'm doing is just like research every day. But sometimes I have to fill up the other companies like financial data to compare with the DOM and like how the other companies doing well or bad. And at the time, what was it? The tax agency comes to check, whether they pay right amount of tax or not. So I have to help them out that in calculating the tax report and stuff. Yeah, that was pretty interesting.
Did they have overlapping projects like they did for me? Sometimes they would start out giving you one project, and then they would give you another one while you're still doing it. So you had to figure out which one was more important out of the 2 or 3. Did they do that for you too?
For me, it's not really, because they, I think they evaluate me for just one big main goal task. So, they give me a lot of time to work on that, evaluation form, and then every day, I have to tell them how much I done, what kind of thing I got it from the research and stuff.
The end of day comments.
Yeah. They then they say sometimes they say good, but for the first 2 weeks, I was doing pretty bad,
I feel you.
Yeah, my supervisor was like, this is not what I'm really looking for. I'm sorry. But I learned also they give me advice that why don't you go over this website, or why don't you read this book or something like that. So that was cool. What about you?
So in my case, because I'm a psych major and I went into product management, they knew that I knew nothing. So I never actually got big tasks, and to this point I still don't have big tasks. They kind of gave me lectures about what each team does, and then because each team is so specialized, you can't really do a task for them, but maybe I could watch them do the Excel work or something, and then if I get used to that, they let me do a little bit of it, but it just depended on the day. It's if they have way too much, then that day also they'll email me, they're hey, can you finish this up for us while we start a different project. So for me, it was more everything was learning rather than actually working. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that you guys had actual big tasks and goals, but I didn't.
But I feel I want to have some sort of little bit of a lecture, but
Oh really?
Yeah.
Mine's been all
Sometimes.
lecture,
right?
so.
When you're sitting in the meeting and they're throwing all these words,
Yeah,
you're just what does that mean?
Did you guys use the Dome wiki page?
No, they have one?
Yeah, they have a Dome wiki page. You can search up other keywords.
Oh wow!
I was just taking
I
notes,
should have
and I would
known
ask
that,
my supervisor
I
after,
just
what does this
like
mean? What does
Yeah.
that mean? When you did your internship at Dome, for me, you guys are both Japanese, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you get treated differently than I did, because you speak Japanese fluently and I don't. So did you guys have a hard time adjusting
For the communication.
or not just communication, but just the internship in general, what you were doing and whatnot, because it's different as a student.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah, I have actually a lot. For the communication, but it's I don't really have that, because I can talk not naturally. I don't have any problem for the communication, but the finance, we're using different languages from the daily life, so I have a lot of terms that I don't know, that I don't understand what they're saying. So then I have to keep asking what is this, what is that. Sometimes I have to even Google it to know, or go to TU library. Yeah, it's really
resourceful.
useful. It's
There you go.
reading academic journal or article, then to get idea. And finance is not only about Excel thinking. You have to go to see the world and how it works behind that appearance. So yeah, I went to a lot of shops even along Harajuku or Odaiba, and sometimes I ask with the people working there. And I'm not saying that I'm working in Dome, but to get to know. Yeah, what about you?
So I think for me, you were saying language, for me it's actually partial language too, because they know I'm Japanese, but I'm also a returnee. So my Keigo is not the best, and sometimes I still don't know what is the proper Keigo and stuff. So I wasn't sure what they expected of me when I first went in.
Okay.
So I was really nervous, and I still am kind of nervous
Yeah.
to use my Japanese, but then I only communicate with them in Japanese, so like that was like my biggest. And then also because I'm a psych major and I don't know anything about product management, the key terms and stuff. They keep telling me, and then they tell me in English too, because they're like, oh yeah, you understand English better, right? Like they understand that. So then they gave it to me, and even then I'm like, I don't know what this means, but okay, I'll just pretend. And then like look it up later. I was like, oh, okay, that's what that means. Okay, and then so that's my biggest problem. Like just understanding it, even in English, is hard for me. But then it's everything in Japanese. So it's like processing all that. But I'm guessing that's a whole different story.
I mean, it sounds like you guys have it harder than I did. I mean, for me, since like I can speak Japanese, just not fluently, right? So there's like words I don't know, but that's like easy. But because I guess I was a foreigner, I didn't have to use like keigo at all to anybody, so that was really nice because I could just like basic conversational Japanese saved my life. But like because of that, because I didn't have a lot of like knowledge of like the Japanese work language, like business Japanese is super different. But also for me, it wasn't like really like a language issue. It's more of like a thought process issue. Like it's a completely like different thinking process for marketing. You know, like as a student, you get an assignment and a due date, and like figure it out. Okay, you have your instructions.
Right.
You're like you have your assignment, but it's super like general. And you're like, okay, figure it out. But it can't be like C work. You can't be C work because then your managers are gonna look at it this like, no, do it again. You know, you don't get an A or B. You get a you're fired or you're not kind of.
Right.
So like you always have to try, and you have to think of how does this impact other people, because you're not just making an image for people to see. You're making an image for people to buy. So like thinking of it like that was like it was really nice to get into that thinking process, but it was super different. So that was like the hard part. And then for language barrier, when I was doing those daily comments, I was like writing it in Japanese, and my supervisor was just like, "You can write it in English, you know."
I write mine in English.
Because like my written Japanese is weak, so they knew that, and they're like, "When you present in Japanese, but when you write, you can write in English." And I was like, oh. They're very like accommodating for me at least. And when I didn't know stuff, I would write it down and ask my supervisor later. But the hard part is when you're in a meeting, you can't just be like, can I ask a question right now? So like I would end up like spacing off a lot of the times because I wouldn't understand what they were presenting. So I'd be like taking notes. I'm like, how do I write this word? Or what does this mean? And I was just like, I could only ask half the question. I might just figure it out. But it's a good skill to have. But that was the hard part, is just trying to figure out what you don't know because you can't ask what you don't know.
What did you learn at this internship?
I learned a lot from the internship. Mainly I learned how to think outside of the school mind. Like the school mentality is what really like made it hard to adjust to a new like working environment, because I didn't know what to think like as a supply chain manager. I didn't know how to think as a marketer for a brand. I didn't know what it meant to think of a brand. I know an image. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But then like I never thought about how to use that image to attract people, how to use that image to sell to people. So thinking about that was just like, it was a really cool like new thing, but it was kind of hard because you're used to like the strict teacher tells you stuff, you write it down, and then you put it back on the test and you're good to go. There is no test, right? So there's like, you just take in as much as you can from everyone else and you try to figure it out. So that was the nice part that I learned. And I learned how to properly use my knowledge. So if I had like a vision, I had to think, is it doable? Is it implementable? And like, is it like doable in this society? Because as an American, right, you don't think about like the differences of people. Japanese culture is super different, right? So when I would tell people this is how they do it in America, they would reply, but that doesn't work in Japan because this, and that. So I'm like, okay, another thing to think about is the Japanese culture. Different cultures means different aspects. So that's mainly what I learned, is just to use a different mentality than just a strict test, pass. That's it. You know?
Yeah,
It's
true.
nice.
True.
How about you guys?
Yeah, I'm totally agree with you. That's what I learned exactly. You know, it's really important that like we have to learn from the book, or but it doesn't work in real society. Real world, like real business. So based on what we learn from the school, I have to adjust it to the internship, and for that I have to think about like a lot of other things as well. Like for the school, like in the class, you only have like you can only think about that topic. But in the business, you have to get another idea from here or here, then put it together, then implement it.
Yeah.
So that's what I learned.
Yeah.
Definitely. What about you?
I think on the same page, but like for me, it was like, especially when I do like Excel work, I think it used to be at school, it's just numbers that you had to figure out for a homework, right? And it didn't really matter what that number actually meant. But like at Dome, like when I look at the numbers, I'm like, oh, this number actually means this.
So I don't know, like, what did you enjoy the most during the internship?
So during my internship, there was this one day that I guess there's a miscommunication with the factory that was sending in uniforms for the Giants baseball team, that they didn't fold the uniforms to be sold. So it was the job for the Dome people to just fold it and package it and send it within 2 days.
Wow.
So one of the days I was there, like whoever was free had to go up and just fold uniforms. But to think that that's the uniforms people are gonna buy like at the Giants game, and like I can proudly say number 24 is the numbers XL size. Is I folded all of those, like 200 of them. So I think that was fun for me, because like out of nowhere my supervisor came in and was like, hey, you need to fold uniforms now. And I'm like, what? Like I've been on the computer just like the past 2 months, and now I get to go fold like uniforms. So I think that was like a fun like on the spot like thing that they weren't expecting and I wasn't expecting. So it was like a fun day.
Wow. What about you, Johnny?
For me, that's actually kind of similar but different. For me, is since I worked a lot, like closely with the running department, and I run a lot. They're like, oh, we have like these clothes we want you to try, you know, from like various seasons from like 2017, 2018, and 2019. So they gave me like full backpack of clothes, and they're like, okay, you have 3 months to try them out and write down your opinions on it. What's good, what's bad, what you think could be better. So like throughout the months as I was running, like every day, it's just I got to try on new clothes, which was nice. But then like having to put that into words is kind of challenging. Like, how do I say what's good about a shirt? This is a shirt you run in, like you sweat in, and it's like, but wait, there's something good in that because it dries fast and whatnot. So that was kind of fun, like getting to try on new things that like haven't even come out yet and people won't know about until like 2 years from when you're trying them out, you know? So that's the fun aspect, that you think like these people plan way in advance, like what's gonna come out when and what time, and like you're the one that gets to like do it before everyone else, which is like, that's cool. How about you? What'd you have fun with?
That's kind of difficult, but like I have 2 things that I want to share. That the one thing, from the internship, that you know, for the finance, I have to. I try to contact with a lot of people from different divisions. For example, the Peter from the strategy, I think. The reason why is like they are taking care of like the studio in Fukushima. So like I want to know like how do they evaluate. So like I have to talk with him, and he's English speaker, so like that's the only time I actually use English.
Really?
There,
What? That's interesting.
You know, communicate with the different, you know, division. It's really nice because I have a lot of different, like they have different view from the finance. Like from the finance view, like I would say like this is not good, but like from the other side, like, this is the good way to do it. Like someone's like, oh, okay, that's some, it's interesting, but maybe, you know, this is the difficulty that for the business. So that's the thing that I learned, and like I really enjoy that too.
If you were thinking about future like students that want to intern at Dome, what would you tell them? Like, what advice would you give them?
Okay. I would definitely say that like it's okay to make mistakes. Like first time I went to like finance division, like I don't know about any finance. I made a lot of mistakes. The supervisor was like, okay, kind of thing, but I learned from that. Like I asked advice and be honest that like you don't know, you know. Then you learn a lot from that. If you realize that like you don't know anything, then ask. They are welcome to give advice. So, what about you?
My advice, or like my thing is, as long as you love sports, you're gonna do fine at that company. Like I'm not and like that. If you really love it, that passion will come out as you're working too, and they'll see that, and that's probably what that will help them like understand that you love sports and that's why you want to be a part of this company, and that's probably why you wanted to intern here. Like for me, like I'm a psych major, but product management has nothing. But honestly, I think because I really like sports, that really got me through. And because I like sports, they tell me all these details of, hey, this is what a business is like, this is what sports business is like, and like this is how it runs, and like this is what you need to know. And they're very considerate about it. Like they really think, or at least my advisors, they really think through like, hey, this is something she should know, like because she's here, right? So like that's why I got a lot of lectures, right? And at least my supervisor, he was very like considerate, saying like, hey, even if you may not stay here, like this is knowledge you should really know in like workplace, right? So the people there are really considerate, and like, so as long as you can show them like who you are and what your passions are, they're gonna really take that in and give you the best out of that. So did you get
me? See, I learned a lot from them. Going into the internship, so like for the interview, I just would tell the students, tell them what you want to learn, because you're there to learn.
Right.
But if they don't know what you like want from them, they can't like help you as much. You know, if like I want to learn everything, that's too general, right?
Right.
But if you tell them specifically, like I want to learn how to market to people, or I want to learn how like companies work on the international aspect, then the supervisors or your team leaders can better prepare themselves for you. So they can give you like assignments related to what you want to learn. Like if you want to learn about finance, but like specifically accounting, and you tell them that, then they can give you something. But if you like don't tell them, then they're gonna give you something completely unrelated to what you want. And you're gonna be like, sure, it's a good learning experience, but it's not what you want specifically. But another thing is just actually try. You know, if you're there to intern, don't just like half.
Yeah, don't be passive.
don't just like 50%. Do 100%.
Yeah.
Because
more than that. You know?
Yeah, because it's not like school where you can just like get by with the bare minimum, get that C-, go on to the next class. If you try, like you said, if you show them who you are, and they'll really like be able to work with you and help you out just to succeed more. But if you just barely try, then so will they. If you're not gonna put an effort, neither will they.